Alright. What's up, y'all? Getting cozy with the spiders. My name is Evan Strong, the founder of In The Image Clothing Company. In The Image Clothing Company. What are we? Who are we? Why am I sitting next to Willy Wonka in the Chocolate Factory's river? Well, clothing. The only thing physically placed on us, the literal word of clothing. That's what we discuss here under In The Image Clothing Company's main side, one of our 4 sites, okay? Today is the 23rd of July, 2026, and this video's title is Shoelace Knots and Different Length Toes. Let's talk about this. I don't know what that was. Just a bushy-tailed cat? Or a raccoon? Or a muskrat? Muskrats don't have bushy tails, and they're not that big. Huh. Anyway. We've got different length 5 toes within this universal human design. All human beings are the same, okay? There's a universal human design. The body grows by itself. Hinges, levers, and rotations. Mathematical degrees of functioning. Mathematical degrees of motion. To get to the full motion the body has. I'm going to have to do a tick check probably after sitting here, bro. Seriously, this is a precariously placed position with the tarantulas and black widows. Welcome to Utah. I love this video. We've got different length 5 toes we evenly roll off the ends of just to share the weight in this universal human design. The bones of the body connect directly to each other with their very specific shape and length. Connected by ligaments, they just have to mesh the only way they can. And so being a clothing company here, really the only reason why, under In The Image Clothing Company, is to allow the body to work, okay? Our slogan, under our main side, allowing the body to work here. Man, I don't know what that animal was. I've just seen beavers and stuff around here. I don't know what that was for sure. I just barely saw it before it went behind that tree over there. Anyway, yeah, so clothing's the only thing physically placed on our bodies. Our bodies are this mechanical machine physically placed onto Earth. There truly is only one way the human body could ever work, just abiding by universal laws outside of all of us, like gravity, okay? It has a vertical pole that comes down and meshes with the horizontal surface of the planet Earth. And there's only one way this can work with the body. It's a 90-degree angle. A right angle, a perpendicular angle, the vertical pole of gravity coming down to the horizontal surface of the planet Earth. And our bodies have a center line. The sternum, the spine, the trachea, the nose, the jaw that stabilizes the entire body with musculature out to the edges of our shoulders from the lower jawbone called the mandible, down to the upper ribs from this lower jawbone called the mandible, and up to the crown of our head from this lower jawbone called the mandible. Okay, watch this. Yikes. Even opposing musculature goes through the collars of our tops that need to stay centered and snug. In The Image Clothing Company, I know what I'm talking about, despite the unconventionality of how I tend to do these things. The founder and leader for life of In The Image Clothing Company, me, Evan Strong. Today's the 23rd of July, 2026. Shoelace knots and different length toes. The thing is, we've got 4 different length fingers that mesh and wrap evenly around a different length opposable thumb. Well, there's only one way the human body could ever work. We've got different length 5 toes, and we share the weight with all of them. We're going to show the shoelacing. I put white shoelaces in these shoes for the sake of the visual, okay? So you can see them well, the contrast, the white on black, like somebody from, you know, the heart of Africa's desert, contrasting with me in the dead of winter, being just a Caucasian American. The United States of America. Okay, so here's the thing. We've got ropes we're just tying on the body. You know, and that can damage the body. There's only one way the bones are shaped in the body. Once we're full grown, they're always the exact same. And they only connect to how they're shaped. So, No other way at all, ever, right? Or you'll damage the bones. The bones have a thin layer of cushioning between them called cartilage, but they just have to mesh properly, or else they can't work. Muscles pull only. Muscles pull where they connect to bones through tendons, and we've got opposing muscles that pull to extend a hinge or to close a hinge. There's just two sides, like the elbow. It's always a pull. I'm looking around and just seeing all of these little spiders. I'm serious. There's a lot of them. And I'm just sitting with them. I was homeless for a couple months. About a month ago. Gave me a lot of perspective. Shoelace knots. And different length toes. The thing is, the feet only work how they do. We've got feet evenly opposing the center line of our bodies at the foundation of us, gripping arches inward to keep us vertical on Earth's vertical gravity pull. So, you know, I was planning to take my shoe off, one of them, to show my different length toes in this video, but now that I'm looking at these wolf spiders and tarantula nests, I'm not even kidding. Maybe I won't. But I'll show what I'm going to show here. Golly, this is so ridiculous in an amazing way. Just how this video is going. So, yeah, we've got different length 5 toes, but we've also got ropes we're weaving across the top of our feet. There's only one way the top of the feet are shaped. Okay? And it's what we title In the Image Clothing Company's shoelace technique. You're just weaving a rope across the top of your feet and then tying a knot around your ankle joint to hold the shoe on your foot. There's a neutral. Dorsiflexion, lifting the foot up, the lever of the foot off the hinge of the ankle. Or plantar flexion, pointing the lever of the foot down off the hinge of the ankle. The neutral is the horizontal surface of the planet Earth, okay? There's only one way the human body could ever work. It's placed onto this Earth that has universal laws like physics that even the airplanes have to abide by. Shout out to the airplane noise. Wow. Blunt, bold, raw, and real. In the Image Clothing Company style. Throw the cuffs on. I know. Call me. Crazy. Okay. In all seriousness, I've got some things to discuss here, but the airplane noise is not the most ideal to be speaking over. The chocolate-looking river is one thing. With the sound of rushing waters, it could put you to sleep, potentially. It's like one of those sound machines for your bedtime routine. There's some big spiders in here, bro. I'm not even joking. Anyway, so we've got different length toes we roll evenly off the ends of. But, you know, in the Image Clothing Company's shoelace technique, it's just the shape of the top of the feet. But I want to show something here, because if we have different length 5 toes we're rolling evenly off the end of, what we need to have is this rope we're tying around the ankle joint just be angled in such a way to where it'll just put the whole flexion of the ankle into a position that's just the same angle as we roll evenly off the ends of our 5 different length toes in. And so that's the thing, as we tie our shoes evenly, you know, either side of the body over toward the inside. This right shoe, we tie with the outside rope coming over toward the inside, and then you tuck it underneath. Now this puts the shoelace on an angle, because you've just got one side of a rope over the other side of a rope, you know? And so this is the thing under In the Image Clothing Company, is what we really do here is get out of chronic patterning. Because what we do in life as a human being is get into chronic patterning. God designed the body to work. That's why we have it. It's just a mechanical machine to take us across the surface of the earth with. So the body should just work, unless or until altered, and we've got our individualistic situations. I get it, deformities, amputations, birth defects, major surgeries, whatever it is at all, potentially altering your body quite a bit. But you can only be different from something, and there is this universal human design, okay? So the feet, they're all just how they are. We've got dorsiflexion, plantar flexion, internal rotation, external rotation, pronation, supination, different length 5 toes, gripped arches, 27 bones, unless there's 26. In the feet, you know, ligaments, tendons, and muscles all working to support the entire body. And we just weave a rope across the top of the feet, okay? So this rope has to be shaped the only way the top of the feet are shaped. But then not only that, when we tie the shoe on our foot to hold it in place, we just have to have the flexion of the ankle still be able to happen in its neutral position. So the pinky toes always point straight forward in the neutral. There's a jumping spider. Yeek! I was going to grab him to show you, seriously, but I didn't get to grab him before he dropped off the little branch on his web. Okay, so the foot is pointing straight forward, just rolling evenly off the ends of our 5 different length toes on the universal human design that come up and in toward the center line of the body, like an arrow, right? Similar to the angle that the rope will be on around the ankle if we tie the outside rope over the inside. It's just physics, okay? See this angle here of the rope coming down on the outside and up on the inside? You see this angle here of the different length 5 toes in the universal human design coming down on the outside and up on the inside? Well, it's just physics. There's only one way the human body could ever work. Truly. Anyway, we discussed the anatomy of the human body in such great depth here under In The Image Clothing Company's main side, you could never possibly dispute what we're saying or the truth of the information within it. It's just physics. So, the pinky toe points straight forward because that is the neutral, and from there we can come internal with the leg or external with the leg. Bring the whole foot in or the whole foot out. In toward the center line of the body or out away from the center line of the body. But yeah, you know, there's another airplane. You hear that? There's a flight school. Flight school. Here's a flight school. Just a few miles from here. I'm seriously seeing many different spiders from this one location as I sit here and film this video. On the 23rd of July, 2026, under In The Image Clothing Company's main side. Titled Shoelace, Knots, and Different Length Toes. Okay. So, yeah, let me stand up a little bit. Okay. So watch this, right? Not necessarily that, but that's fine as well. I'm hearing all sorts of critters, and I'm just intrigued. So the foot just points straight forward, okay? Rolling evenly off the ends of these 5 different length toes. I will take my shoe off because let me show you what I'm saying. And don't mind my sock, because here it is. See, we've got different length toes. We roll evenly off the ends of and the angle here is angled, okay? So we come internal rotation or external rotation from the neutral. The pinky toe is neutral. When we grip and arch in the foot, okay, pinky toe is straight forward. Holy cow, chocolate milk river. Okay, but this angle to the different length toes determines just how we put pressure off of the foot as we walk, traveling up the entire body, just neutral. Okay, now when we tie a rope around the ankle, we could call it a shoelace, sure, but it's just a rope, okay? It's just a rope. It's just a rope. That's all it is. It's just a rope. So you tie the outside over the inside like this, and now this angle that gets created, see how this rope's underneath and this rope's on top? Wow. Well, it just puts the whole position on an angle of the ankle, but that's a natural angle, okay? Like this, it's the same angle as the different length 5 toes. Because, well, just because it is. So anyway, my point is, yeah, when you put pressure against this is such a crazy video. When you put pressure against the knot, it's just pushing this angle of the shoelace knot into the same position. The feet are going to roll off the ends of the different length 5 toes evenly. Okay. So my point is, we do have deadly spiders here called brown recluse and black widows in the state of Utah, the United States of America, where we're based as In The Image Clothing Company. And I'm just down here with them in their home. But anyway, yeah, I mean, just this angle. I mean, you can see how the weave of the rest of the rope through the shoelace technique of In The Image Clothing Company shoelace technique that has pressure against my foot. All these ones angled on the same angle through the shoe lacing as the knot is on an angle because we've just tied one side over the other. It's all on this, you know, down and to the outside angle. Well, that allows the foot to press on the ground so that the angle of the different length 5 toes can evenly just have the bones of the toes point straight forward because they're just connected directly to each other through ligaments, and they only track in line because the bones on the body are extremely specific in their shape and length. So we tie our shoes right over toward the inside, and the next time you cross the knot, you just go over toward the outside, tuck it underneath, because that's what we call a square knot, just opposing, you know, each time you stack ropes. One side goes over, and then the other side goes over, and then keep alternating. It just keeps it even as you stack. Anyway, In The Image Clothing Company's shoelace technique, seen here, you know, just the only way the top of the feet are shaped, found wherever you find our 5-word company name, In The Image Clothing Company. But we've just got one side of a rope going over the other side of a rope. And so this will just put the ropes on an angle. Okay, yikes. That's the same angle as the different length 5 toes we roll evenly off the end of. Okay, so we talk a lot about shoelacing under In The Image Clothing Company. Always stop lacing at ankle flexion. Okay. There's only one location the ankle flexes in, There's only one location. The two lower leg bones, the tibia and the fibula, come down and meet into the foot bones in. There's only one way the human body could ever work. But also, you know, it's the 23rd of July, 2026. I felt that this video was needed to be made, and I felt like this was the right location, so here it is. This is definitely not how our videos normally go, by the way. We have over 600 plus videos as of today's date, the 23rd of July, 2026, under In The Image Clothing Company's main site alone, one of our forwards to us. We give a lot of free modifications in clothing to allow the body to work with universal clothing imbalances being designed and shipped across the entire earth in modern day that could have never happened in the same way in the past. We've got robots that stitch and make our clothing. So things like rotated seams in clothing, collar seams in clothing. We give a lot of free modifications in clothing, bro. Okay? In The Image Clothing Company's rotated seam modification in clothing, okay? In The Image Clothing Company's dreaded collar seam modification. If you've got rotated seams in your clothing, they need to be modified to not be rotating. The body's got its own rotations within our clothing, and we just can't have our clothing hold us into one rotation because that's an imbalance. Pockets, zippers, buttons, shoelaces, drawstrings, ropes like that, those shoelaces, drawstrings, anything at all tied on or around the body in any way. That's what I'm showing in this video, is when you tie one side of a rope over the other side of a rope, you'll twist the entire body. You know, the ankle just only having one way that it has all the bones connecting into it that make it be something we can call an ankle, right? They only connect how they do, and they just have to mesh properly. And so if we tie a rope around the ankle that doesn't just have the same angle to it that the different length toes have, even though the different length toes of the human being come up and in, and then this tying of rope comes essentially like down and out, it's a different thing that's happening. This rope's on the front of the ankles hinging, but the feet put pressure on the bottom of the feet, you know, so this is the front of the ankle, or we could say essentially the back of the feet. So the ankle pushes forward on this rope on an opposing angle that the toes push down on the ground on, but opposite sides of things make it equal. Anyway, so it just, you know, it just is what it is. This angle is the focus of this video, okay? Shoelace knots, they need to be on the proper angle to allow the angle of the different length 5 toes to just evenly press against the ground as we just move the hinge joint of the ankle to either lift or drop, you know, dorsiflex or plantar flex the lever of the foot while we're carrying a shoe around with Earth's vertical gravity pull pulling down on it, in addition to our bodies. Gravity's got the same effect on our clothing that it has on our bodies, you know? And clothing is just the literal word of anything physically placed on the body. Hats, glasses, shoes, socks, tops, pants, undergarments, jewelry, gloves. This stick, if I place it on my shoulder, it's literally clothing my shoulder. There truly is only one way the human body could ever work. And so shoelace knots and different length toes have to just be going on the same angle, but the body grows by itself. The bones of the toes are always just going to be on the same angle as the different length toes are in the human being, you know? And so we just have to weave a rope around the foot, the only way the foot's shaped, in the Image Clothing Company's shoelace technique. That's the top of the shoe, you know. We talk about the bottom of the feet as well, though, because that's the other half of their function. Plantar flexion, pointing down, versus dorsiflexion, lifting up of the foot lever off the hinge of the ankle. Well, the sole of the shoe is the term zero drop. In any brand of shoe, just flat, like the horizontal surface of the planet Earth, before we could ever possibly go up a hill or down a hill, okay? neutral. There's always only one way the human body could ever work. The entire body resides in a neutral position with opposing muscles pulling to stabilize us there. It's just the shape and length of the bones, like I'm saying with the feet. The different length 5 toes, they just have to point straight forward. It's like the finger is just bending and only ever straight forward. You try to bend the fingers on an angle, and it just doesn't work because you've got tendons connecting musculature to bones, and you've got bones connecting to each other through ligaments, and everything just has to connect on an inline position. And so weaving a rope across the top of the foot, tying a rope around the ankle joint, you can really twist the whole foot and ankle and damage the entire body traveling up, because the foot is the foundation. Before we could ever think about anything else, the knees, the hips, the spine, the shoulders, the jaw, stabilizing the entire body, the head, the arms all the way out to the fingertips. The feet come first always, and so I understand this video is extremely unique, but it's valid, eternal truth, applying to every human being to ever live. My grandparents, great-great-grandparents, grandparents, and my grandkids, great-great-grandkids, grandkids. Even if clothing's made out of anything different, you know, it needs to be made out of 100% natural materials in all the ways we can. Clothing has to do these very baseline things at least. Stay centered, fit correct, things like joints of material of clothing meshing with joints of body parts, and then be made in all the ways we can from 100% natural materials, because the body is made from 100% natural materials. We're literally what we have eaten. There's a beetle, bro, a green-looking beetle. Sometimes you got to get down, you know, on a lower level than you normally be to see things that you usually just pass over. Seriously, you know. I'm not worried about the spiders, but there truly are deadly spiders. I've seen a couple black widows within the past couple weeks here in Utah, where we're based. As In The Image Clothing Company, I'm Utah native. I'm just saying that they're here, you know. It is what it is. I'm just camping out with them right here. But anyway, ideally no stretch in shoelaces. You know, ideally no stretch in clothing at all. Muscles only pull and stretch goes the opposite direction. But not only that, stretch is new in clothing just tens of years ago from modern day, 2026. You know, today's the 23rd of July, 2026. And this video's title is Shoelace Knots and Different Length Toes. You know, we've got a video under In The Image Clothing Company's main site here currently titled The Extensor Hallucis Longus Muscle and Shoelaces, which goes right along with this. There's a muscle that comes from the tip of the big toe all the way up through the ankle joint on the top of the foot, and then up and out to the outer part of the fibula, one of these two lower leg bones, about halfway up the leg. The outer leg bone, okay, of the two lower ones that allow for internal or external rotation by pivoting over each other, like the two bones in the forearm, the radius and the ulna. They do the same thing, essentially. There's always only one way the human body could ever work. There's no possible opinion to that could ever matter, myself included. Me, Evan Strong, the founder and leader for life of In The Image Clothing Company. But yeah, this muscle needs to just mesh right with where the knot is on the shoelace, around the ankle, okay? The extensor hallucis longus muscle, it's just the biggest muscle, most protruding forward, the farthest forward-most muscle of the ankle, coming down to the biggest toe, the big toe. So, you know, tying shoes evenly, a video's title under In The Image Clothing Company's main site here. We just need those knots to be in the same spot on the ankle, and right where that extensor hallucis longus muscle comes through, kind of not just right in the very front of the ankle, but kind of right on the inside, you know, just slightly inward from the very front. You can just feel where that muscle comes down and through to the big toe. But that's the thing, is that's where we're putting pressure against this knot, is right where that muscle's at. I'm going to show you some spiders, for real, if I can find them, you know, just right here with the camera, so you can see what I'm dealing with right here. But check out the other three sides of In The Image Clothing Company if you'd like to. In The Image Clothing Company Music, In The Image Clothing Company Poodles, an In the Image Clothing Company podcast with discussions on the gospel of Jesus Christ. We're on episode 211 of In the Image Clothing Company podcast as of today's date, the 23rd of July, 2026. And so I know this is a little bit of a non-conventional video, but, well, bro, it just delivered the information we needed it to. It's just about the angles. When we talk about where clothing sits on the universal human design, it's about angles of bones connecting. It's about gravity's universal vertical pull down on us and whatever we choose to literally physically clothe our physical bodies with. Ideally round in shoelaces, you know, and things like this. So thank you. Let's find some spiders if we can, for the sake of the documentation. It's just another date-marked documentation under In the Image Clothing Company, and any of the 4 sides that it is at the time. In this case, it's under our main side. Oh, what does that sound, bro? I seriously keep hearing critters. Anyway, so this is where I'm sitting, or where I've been sitting. You've got, well, there's a spider right there. Okay, if you saw that guy. There's a spider web here. Little box elder bugs all over the place. Oh, I thought that was a spider there, but